Now I'll need someone to play with. A trio. Piano, bass, and drums, and a bone for me.
Hi everyone, this is Editing Maggie, popping in right off the bat here. I just want to apologize that for this episode, and I believe the next couple episodes, we had an issue with Jeff's microphone, so the audio quality is going to be a little bit off on his side. We cleared the problem up, so after these next few episodes, things should be back to normal. Enjoy the episode. Hello everyone, and welcome back to what is now referred to as Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
I was, fully ready for you to say First Contact again. Was like, wait a minute. No, that's someone else's job.
Yeah. If you don't follow us on Instagram, or if you haven't been keeping up with the episodes or anything like that, we've renamed ourselves to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. This is because despite our best efforts to research beforehand, we found a podcast that has pretty much exactly the same name as us and the same premise.
It's great because if you Google search them, they don't show up. But then if you search for them on Google Podcasts, they do show up. And it's like, wait a minute. Is Google not referencing their own database?
I guess not.
We were betrayed. We were betrayed by Google.
Deeply, deeply betrayed. Yeah, so just to cover our butts and not compete, we have no ill will. They're, way long established before us. We just decided to change the name.
It was easier than going back in time and stealing the name before they had an opportunity to use it, so.
Yeah. Exactly. We don't have the ability to slingshot around the sun ourselves, so.
Hey, I understood that reference.
All right, so if you're not familiar with the podcast, my name is Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory. Jeff and I are huge Trekkies, and Dory is very, very novice in her knowledge of Star Trek. So we're going on a journey, episode by episode, through Star Trek: The Next Generation. Today's episode is called 11001001.
What, you couldn't memorize that? What's wrong with you?
No, I couldn't. I had to look at the notes. Original air date January 30th, 1988. And yeah, as always, we'll go to Dory for the recap.
Okay, so the Enterprise is flying to Starbase 74. They're going for a maintenance check because she needs to be tuned up and get that computer fixed. Then we meet...
After only 6 months.
Yeah. Then we meet the Sean Connery lookalike with his Binar friends who are a unified pair, non-binary, and their names are 10 and 0 Run. Yeah, I wrote that down.
0 Run is what you just said.
0, 1, and 10. I wrote it down too.
Cool.
To write down numbers. Their voices are terrifying. They talk. One talks, the other one finishes the sentence. Anyways, they come in to look at the computers. In the meantime, the rest of the crew can go fuck off and relax.
Go vacation.
Yeah. So most of the crew goes to the starbase. They go play this game called Parnassus Squares? I don't know what it is.
Squares.
It's whatever. You guys know at this point I'm really bad at pronouncing shit.
No. It's not about pronouncing it. It is a stupid name, and they only say it once.
Yeah.
But it's something that they bring up as an unseen game many times throughout the series. Specifically in TNG, I believe they mention it more than they do in following series. But this is the only time I believe this is the only time that they mention it without specifically referring to it as a super dangerous game.
Yeah. I think this is the first time you ever hear about Parisi Squares.
It is. So they're just kind of acting like, oh, it's just going to be a fun workout. But every time that they mention it after this, they're like, you're playing Parisi Squares? What the fuck, man?
Well, because it's usually I don't know if it's Wesley, but it's usually like a teenager or something, and it's like, you're too young to be playing Parisi Squares. It's too dangerous. Some shit
yeah,
like
okay,
that.
good point. And it's like, wait a minute, what can adults do that like a 17-year-old can't?
Yeah.
Drive. No, rent a truck.
I mean, yes.
Rent a car.
In terms of physical prowess, like I would assume a 17-year-old to be at like the top of their game.
I don't know. I do like the blue jumpsuits though, or skin tight spandex outfits.
Oh yeah, they're very sci-fi.
It's a look.
Also, we see the scant a few times in the background in this episode
yeah,
on
that's right.
more than one person.
What's that?
That's the man dress.
Oh,
Yeah, we see a repeat of the first person that we ever saw wearing a scant. We see him in the background of a shot, leaving the shot because everyone has to evacuate. And we see it on a woman as Picard and Riker, I think, are entering the turbo lift.
cute.
Yeah.
Okay, so Picard is he's going to go to his cabin. He's going to put his feet up. He's going to turn on his personal relaxation light. I don't know what that means, and I'm concerned. And he's going to lose himself in the pages of some old novel. That doesn't last long.
No, he got bored pretty quickly.
Yeah. And Riker doesn't know what he wants to do, but he leaves Wes in charge for some reason to watch over the Bynars. Because, leave the 15-year-old child in charge for reasons.
No, that makes sense.
So Riker goes to the holodeck, which has been like updated and whatever by the Bynars. And he has the most specific fantasy in the entire fucking world.
Yeah.
So he goes, okay, this is his requests. Okay. He wants some place to play some music. He wants jazz. 1958. Kansas City? And then he's like, no, just kidding. I want Bourbon Street Bar in New Orleans. But very specifically around 2 a.m. And then he's also really specifically wants a very specific looking woman. He wants an intimate concert for the most 1980s looking blonde lady in 1958. But he's like, blondes and jazz don't mix. So I want a brunette. And then he's like, no, that brunette doesn't work for me. Her hair is like even more bigger in 80s. Give me someone sultry. So they give him someone with just like heavier eye makeup, I guess.
Yeah.
And a different face.
Yeah. But they're all wearing the same dress. The difference with this woman in terms of sultry is like it's just hiked up on her leg a little bit. And
her hair isn't curly, to be fair.
Her hair is not that big. Her hair is fine.
Yeah, it's just kind of a little wavy.
Yeah. So her name is Minuet.
Yeah, the way that she says that is like the line delivery in some of these scenes is really awkward. I notice it in Riker early on where his line delivery will be like really, really pronounced, and you'll be like, wait a minute, human beings don't talk like that. And the way that she's talking in this scene is exactly like that. My name is Minuet. And then it's like turning over to the audience and saying, can you spell Minuet?
I had to write it out phonetically because otherwise I would just be calling her Minute the whole time.
Yeah.
Minute.
I mean, in fairness, she isn't a person.
Tell that to Riker.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, it's not spelt the same as minute.
It's spelled, switch the E and the T.
Yeah, exactly. It's a different
Yeah,
sound.
but I would
Come on,
forget.
man. Don't you know you're French?
No.
We're Canadian.
My French education is garbage.
Also, it's like, it's close enough that you could reasonably mistake it, like, if you're not fully looking at it properly.
Yeah, okay, I suppose. Tu ne parles français? Come on.
Anyway, let's get back to Riker and Minute.
Okay. So, it seems that Riker's looking for some Riker time with Minuet.
Yeah.
The best part, I lost my damn mind when he was like, okay, I want a band. I don't want to do this concert on my own. So he goes, now we'll need someone to play with. A trio, piano, bass, and drums, and a bone for me. I lost it.
Yeah.
How does the computer know what that is? Like, is the computer programmed with slang for trombone that nobody has ever said nor will ever say?
I mean, I imagine the computer is programmed with slang or variations.
Well, then why doesn't the computer understand half the time when they're like, how can that be possible? And the computer's like, that information is not available. Like, come on. You can understand what a bone for me means instead of, like a dildo, but you don't understand when someone's asking a rhetorical question?
I guess, I mean, they can, my theory is the computer can understand context clues, maybe?
But also, it was enhanced. They just enhanced it, so
Yeah.
maybe this new
good
enhancement
point.
includes slang.
Includes
But-
Riker slang specifically.
Yeah, I it's kind of wild. I never in a million years would have thought of all the instruments that Riker would play the trombone.
Yeah.
That was really surprising to me.
Jonathan Frakes plays the trombone, actually.
And he was actually quite good.
Yeah,
I wasn't
he is.
expecting him to be bad or anything. I think I was just still in shock that he played the trombone.
So, good news. Supposedly, the recording of the trombone playing is actually Jonathan Frakes' recording.
Oh, nice. Good for him.
Yeah, they
Oh,
they
cool.
gave him the opportunity to do the trombone because he's like, well, I play the trombone. And he's like, cool, let's use that. It's cheaper.
I think this is the first personal information we know about Riker is that he can play the trombone.
Yes, this is our first Riker
Yeah.
episode, and it's not even exclusively a Riker episode.
Yeah. So yeah, he has a real fun time with the trombone. So he's having a conversation with Minuet, and he's like, how far can this relationship go? How real are you? And she goes, as real as you need me to be. And in my head, I had that that Quentin Tarantino alarm sound, that
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what was playing in my head. I was like, no, Riker. I was like, Riker, no, don't try to fuck the computer, Riker. Please, don't try to fuck the computer.
That's what that whole conversation is about. Can I fuck you?
So I guess we do learn one other thing about Riker is that he's hot for computers.
Well, I mean, the question that everybody was asking since the introduction of the holodeck is how often do people fuck in the holodeck?
To live people or a real person and a computer
Holograms.
person.
Yeah. How
Oh,
often do
okay.
people fuck holograms? The answer is, I think, according to the new show Lower Decks, it is now officially canon to be mostly that.
Yes, it is.
Wow. Okay.
And
So,
in Deep Space Nine, they never make any bones about that it's not for that.
Yeah. However, in Deep Space Nine, it's also a monetized system, so a little bit different.
Yeah, that's true.
oh God. All right.
Oh,
well, okay.
also, I just want to note about that scene when him and Minuet kiss at that moment. Jonathan Frakes is using tongue, he is full out.
Nice. I mean, good for him.
Wow.
Yeah,
Did she seem to
Okay.
have a problem with it?
I mean, no,
Well then, would you?
I mean,
no.
Good.
Even present day Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah, Daddy Frakes is pretty great.
I'm still undecided how I feel about Riker. Okay, so they're kissing, and then Picard walks in, because of course he does. And he starts chatting, and of course, because she's a computer, she speaks French to him, and it's really weird. And you can tell that Riker wants to be like, fuck off, I want to fuck this computer.
Yeah.
But Picard tries to leave at one point, but Minuet is like, no, stay. And it's like, I don't think you're going to get what you want, Minuet, if it's a threesome with these two guys. I mean, we all want it, but you know what? They don't.
What happened to Jean-Will?
Exactly. They just push Minuet out of the way at one point.
Well, like I said when I was describing my headcanon, it's a one-way attraction. It's just Riker to Picard.
Oh, unrequited love.
Yeah. Even at the end, when he's talking to Riker, he's like, in the episode, it's supposed to be about him and Minuet when he says, some relationships just can't work, or some relationships just don't work. And I'm like, he's also talking about them.
That's sad. Heartbreaking, really.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a tragic
So-
story.
It's Romeo and Juliet, but everybody's still alive.
Yeah. Look out for my 50,000 word fanfic.
Okay, so they're on the ship, And then there's like antimatter, something that's like, it hasn't been released, but like the containment thing has been like compromised. So basically Data and Geordi are the only ones like really doing shit. I mean, they've taken a break from their painting or whatever. And they're like, oh shit, we need to evacuate. So they basically evacuate everybody. By the way, very quick side note, Beverly and Wes have got haircuts. They look great. Love the haircuts. A+. They look fabulous.
I didn't even notice.
I'm 100% sure she got a haircut. I'm pretty sure he did. It's been a while since I've watched this show.
Because Wesley has like the flipped up front now, the like spiky front bit.
That's like my brother circa 2003.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've evacuated everybody, and except our threesome who are still in the holodeck. And as it turns out, the Bynars, who are supposed to be fixing the computer, are actually trying to hijack the ship to go to their world because a supernova they miscalculated and a supernova went off or something, and it's killing them all. So they need to download their computer stuff into the Enterprise because their computer, I really don't get it. I do not understand all this. I don't get it.
Okay,
but
just for a little backup there, supernovas are kind of something that they'll call back to pretty often in Star Trek. So it seems like they happen a lot more often than they actually do.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's always either the most dire thing in the universe that's going to completely destroy like a whole solar system, or it's just something that happened in the background and it's causing a minor problem.
Yeah.
They can never really decide how bad a supernova is. And also they seem to happen within like, oh shit, we found out this was going to happen like a couple of weeks ago, and now everything's going nuts. And it's like, that's something that builds up over millions of years.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they don't really get the science very well on that.
It's kind of, I don't know. This plot's kind of wild. So when Riker and Picard finally figure out something's wrong, so they do their unison walking, in which I was like, can somebody play The Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy? Because this walk in unison is A++. There's also 4 minutes really of suspense because there's timers, but then because they're going to make this ship explode because Picard basically says, if we can't have her, nobody can.
Yeah.
And so they set up their 5 minutes, but then they get to the bridge and they're like, oh, I guess no more suspense. Because also we know logically the ship's not going to explode. We're only in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
So thanks, 3 minutes of suspense. So then they kind of figure out what's going wrong. They realize they need a password to do something. I don't fucking get it. I don't know. And the password, as I wrote in my notes, the fact that the password, so it has to be binary, so it's the stupid numbers. And the password, of course, is the fucking name of this fucking episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
The 11001001. And I was so mad. I don't know why I was this mad, but I was mad. It's like I'm mad. I'm angry about this. But they figure out the code in 3 seconds, save the Bynars, and they're like, why didn't you ask us for help? And they're like, we weren't sure if you would. And everybody was like, that's okay. Everything will be fine. Now we're going to go back and literally have everything exactly as it was before this all happened.
Hooray!
Every episode of this show. Oh, and then one of my last notes was no Riker time today. Yeah, this was a wild episode.
So much happened, but it seems like a pointless episode, to be honest.
Yeah, everybody's exactly where they were when it started.
Yep.
Nothing has been learned.
Yeah.
Nothing has, the ship is completely undamaged. Oh, sorry, the only difference is that you can, fuck the holograms better.
Yeah.
I suppose. Or have a more intimate, emotional relationship with a computer.
To be honest, I don't think I've ever actually seen this episode, all the way through.
Oh.
It's one of those episodes that, for whatever reason, just has always gotten skipped for me.
I mean, fair.
So, this is pretty much my first time. For all intents and purposes, this is my first time seeing this episode, and I wasn't missing anything.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
knew about Minuet. Like, I knew that at some point Riker had, like, fallen in love with a hologram. So I knew that that was this episode, but I was expecting a lot more to that plot point. Like, they don't really get into it. Like, I think I've said this about almost every episode, but it's like, there's so many ideas that are only, like, they only get into it surface level. Barely.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no time to explore anything. Like, you have falling in love with someone who isn't real. You have the whole Binar sabotage. You have this whole, like, they don't really get into, like, the intricacies of being a species that integrated with technology and computers.
No, they don't.
But yeah, it just seemed like there was a lot of ideas and not a lot of actual exploration of those ideas.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
It was so much time of Riker falling in love with a computer, and we could have, I don't know.
Done something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really great, like a novelty to watch him play the trombone.
The tromboner.
Especially, I did love that he played it in his Starfleet uniform.
Yeah.
He didn't do like a costume change like Picard in
Oh,
the
yes.
other episode, where the 1940s detective one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Riker just was like, this is appropriate for 1958 New Orleans. Or I want to know why did he pick Kansas City? Was Kansas City like a real like jazz city?
I mean, it is kind of known as a music city.
Yes, it is.
Kansas City? Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I actually, there's a disco ball in the bar, and I was like, were disco balls even a thing then? So I actually Googled it, because otherwise it would have driven me crazy. Disco balls, actually the first disco ball like that we know, sort of seen, it was in like a German movie in 1927. So I was like, okay, so it's not likely apparently, because they really weren't that popular until like the 60s and 70s, but it's not unheard of for the disco ball to be in there. It's not likely, but I have a lot of issues when they do like period pieces, especially they do such a bad job with the costume. That dress was not 1958.
Yeah.
That dress was, nothing about her was 1958.
No.
Nothing about her was 1958.
No, that was she's very steeply
1980s.
1988. Yeah.
Yes.
And I say that with my microphone on a stack of fashion history books. So I'll fight anybody who wants to argue with me on this. Literally on 5 different books about fashion history.
I love he like starts flirting with her and stuff, and then he goes up on stage and proceeds to try to seduce this beautiful, perfect woman with the sexiest instrument known to man. The trombone.
Don't you mean the bone?
Yeah, the bone.
The bone.
I mean, I don't see a problem with trying to seduce someone using the bone.
Yeah. Honestly, at first I was very confused when he started playing it, because I'm like, wait, that does not sound like a trombone. Did they, like, put a trumpet, like, over this?
We're just so used to trombones sounding, like, loud and obnoxious.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm just not used to hearing a trombone so, like, softly played.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just also not what pops into my head in a 4-piece band. The trombone is never number 4.
Yeah.
Or the lead, for that matter. But
They're like a 5 or 6.
yeah. I mean, that probably was my favorite part of the episode, is him and that bone. I'm a specific fantasy. Also, 2 a.m. Why that time?
And when he's describing what he wants, he's, like, real weird and horny about it. Like, it's very awkward, because the Binars are there.
Yeah, they're like, oh, dude, maybe keep this to yourself. Put this in
Yeah.
the spank bank for later.
Yeah.
Don't do this now in front of us.
Yeah.
Like, keep this in your jumpsuit for later.
Yeah. What is it just me, or was the acting, like, really off in this episode?
It is not
It
just
was.
you. It absolutely was.
Honestly, I kind of felt uncomfortable watching Riker flirt with Minuet.
Yeah. It was really weird.
Like, secondhand embarrassment somehow.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, if somebody spoke like that to me, I'd be like, oh, hello, 911.
Yeah.
I need to report almost murder.
Yeah. Like, honestly, the acting felt like it was the first episode of the series.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's so weird. And then, oh, sorry, I just have to say, I love when he's dancing with Minuet and he's like, wow, you're so real because you, like, smell like a person and all that stuff. And it's like, and everything you say is so real. Keeping in mind that she was designed to be his perfect woman, so she's just been telling him everything he wants to hear.
It's also important to point out that at the point that he was complimenting her dancing, they had been dancing for a total of about 2 seconds.
Yeah, and they were only, like, swaying back and forth. But, like, I love, like, leave it to a dude to to just believe that a woman saying everything you want to hear is realistic.
I like the I like the implication that they give that Riker is just really into bad like romance novels, because all of their dialogue in that first part is just like, dude, did you get this out of, like, watching 1950s movies or something like that? Because you're just delivering lines that would be said by, you know, like some heartthrob back then and have just become cliche. What's a computer-generated woman like you doing in a dump like this? Like, come on.
Yeah. I love that you give them enough credit that they were trying to say something subtle.
I mean, I'm not giving the writers credit on this. I'm saying, okay, in universe, what does this mean for Riker?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Oh, okay, fair point.
It's also wild that, like, in terms of, like, what's been happening in this episode in terms of a timeline, this has all happened in, what, like, a couple hours?
Yep.
So did he fall for her in a couple hours? That's crazy.
Apparently. I mean, like, one of the things I take from it is that Riker is very lonely.
Oh.
Yeah, and I mean that in like a serious way. I'm not, like, doing a bit. Because at the beginning of the episode, I don't know if this is what they intended, but this is what I got from it. It's like everyone's taking a break because they're at the starbase, they're getting repairs done, and there's nothing really to do. Mm-hmm. And Riker just kind of goes from person to person, and before he even really gets a chance to talk to them, they're telling them about, like, what they're doing with their time off. And he's like, okay, they're already doing something, I guess I'll go to the next person. And no one wants to play with Riker.
No one wants to be Riker's buddy.
Yeah.
Aw. That makes me almost feel bad for him.
Yeah.
That's actually a very good point, because he was going all over the ship in order to find some sort of companionship. Like, he goes all the way up to the observation lounge from, like, the middle of the ship. And for some reason, Data and Geordi have chosen the observation lounge of all places on the ship in order to paint.
Yeah. That was a very weird choice. And they're painting in, like, a dark room, which is not ideal.
I mean, Data's also a very interesting painter.
Yeah.
It's not the worst I've ever seen.
Did you notice that he's, like, they didn't go for painting on canvas? They were like, okay, painting is something that has to change in the future. So he's going to paint on clear plastic.
Yeah. They always
have to futurify things, and it never works out.
It's so dumb. I mean, there are people that, like, paint on acrylic, like sheets of acrylic and stuff like that, but it was very clearly an attempt to just be like, it's the future.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I also like when he went to drop by to see Dr. C, and her excitement, honestly, was fucking adorable.
Yeah.
She was so excited to meet with Terrence Epstein, and I wrote down her, because I was like, I'm never going to remember it, so I need to write down. She wants to explain her approach that combines cybernetics and regeneration, and that it could work. I was like, I don't understand what any of that means, but I'm psyched that she's psyched, because she's so excited about it, and I'm happy for her.
Oh, also, I just want to mention about that scene. Riker walks in, and he's like, it looks like you're packing to leave forever. All she's doing is, like, gathering some notepads. Like, it's...
So, a little bit of funny backstory on that scene. Originally, they were supposed to shoot a scene of Beverly actually meeting Terrence Epstein, and or Epstein. So Epstein didn't write himself out, and it's really amusing because one of the lines that she delivers doesn't line up with that, because she said that he was doing, what was it? He was lecturing like at the academy when she went to school.
Yeah.
I just want a guess. How old is Beverly Crusher?
I would guess like maybe mid-40s.
Yeah.
Okay. Terrence Epstein is 26 years old, according to the script.
No.
Oh.
No. No.
When was he lecturing the academy? Was he 10?
Like, maybe he was, like, a boy genius or something.
I mean, yeah, but a 10-year-old lecturing everyone on that, that is
no.
actually too young even for boy genius.
You know what's really funny? I just pictured a 10-year-old named Terrence.
Hey, my dad was once a 10-year-old named Terrence. Well, Terry.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. It just, there's sometimes names that just sound like adult names and you can't picture them as children.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
a
the same
good
thing.
point.
Like, there's names that are like, sound like they're specific for children, and then seeing them as an adult, you're like, oh, okay.
Like Idris.
Idris
Yeah.
Elba.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Idris does seem like an adult name.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mom and her sister have very like adult sounding names. So we always joke that like I've seen pictures of her as a child, but like it's really funny.
Yeah. Like imagine a Myrtle as, like, a 10-year-old.
I feel bad for
Myrtle.
that kid.
Yeah.
I would imagine them to be the kind of kid that like sits at the corner and like scratches their head so that dandruff falls in order to make art on their piece of paper.
Oh no. Okay. Sorry. Is that a thing?
I mean, it was a thing in The Breakfast Club.
Okay, but I hate that movie.
Okay,
Sorry,
fair enough.
hot take here. I don't like The Breakfast Club.
Yeah, I don't think that's, like, an actual thing. I think it's, like... Because that character is, like, the whole reveal is that she's, like, purposefully being a weirdo.
Oh, it's the Ali Sheedy character.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody's name in that movie.
She's, like,
Oh.
the 80s movie version of a goth person, which is, like, not... You just wear black.
That kind of makes me sad that would be a thing. But I mean, if she's doing it on purpose, that's like a whole other thing. But yeah. Also, that we're on this sort of subject, a child named Jean-Luc is kind of hilarious too. I suppose also a child named Beverly is kind of funny also.
Yeah.
And this isn't like a thing on anybody's names. I just kind of wild.
Yeah, certain names have, like, vibes to them, and it's hard to picture, like, a small child with them.
Oh yeah, like my grandfather, his name was Marvin, and like Marvin as a child, what a random name.
Yeah.
My son Marvin, my 8-year-old Marvin.
My favorite Marvin.
Oh God. Okay, so yeah, that Terrence Epstein thing, that's wild. Then, is he ever mentioned again? Does he show up in the show?
No,
Oh,
they
so
don't
it's just
think
like a
so.
passing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a single scene that was written out, and that's it. That's the entirety of Terrence Epstein's character.
Does Crusher ever talk about her approach that combines cybernetics and regeneration?
No,
What
never.
does this mean though too? Because I don't understand what these mean.
I mean, it
together
doesn't
or
seem to make
separate.
any sense. It seems like they just took two sciencey sounding words and were like, let's put them together.
Okay. This whole episode, I was like, am I stupid or do I just like I was like, I don't know anything that's happening other than like Riker wants to fuck a
Yeah.
computer.
Right. Cybernetics is when you directly interface electronics and mechanical pieces with the human body. So, like, technically, an artificial limb is cybernetics to an extent, as long as it's electronic in some way.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, how that would interface with regeneration, I don't get it.
But
Is she
here-
saying
here's
can like
the thing.
regrow a limb?
No, regeneration is such like a vague term because your body already regenerates. Like when
Yeah, that's
you
true.
when you heal a cut, that's regeneration.
Mm-hmm.
So cybernetics is already involves some regeneration. in that, like, if you're attaching, like, a cybernetic arm, your body has to, like, integrate with it and, like, heal around it and that kind of shit.
Oh yeah, okay.
So, like,
Interesting.
yeah, I don't think it's like that ridiculous, like, to combine those two, like cybernetics and regeneration, because it's like, okay, so we combine, like, replacing some things with electronics and then being able to artificially regenerate portions of the body or whatever.
Okay, yeah, that works.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It would be cool though if like we got to see like some of Dr. C's like her theories and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Do they ever actually, I was gonna ask, but I also don't want to know. I want to
Yeah.
be surprised.
I'm not
But
sure
that would be
anyway.
cool. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair. Because yeah, that would be really neat to sort of see like her working on experiments or make that like a plot in one of the episodes. I mean, this show is like what, 7 seasons?
That's
Yeah.
right.
And each season is 20 something episodes.
Yeah.
It's got to be like they could like put one in there and be like Beverly's doing experiments.
Yeah. Oh God, there's a Beverly centered episode that I want to tell you about, but I can't.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and no, you absolutely cannot tell.
No, I can't.
Ugh.
But it's
Oh, I'm so
it's also
excited then.
so far away.
Oh,
Yeah, but it's
well.
really funny.
Okay, then I'll blindly look forward to it because I don't
Yeah.
know when it's coming.
Yeah, I just like, for those of you who know, you know what I probably mean.
If you know, you know.
And I don't know.
So, like, I'm confused as to what this episode was trying to say, if anything.
I don't really think it was trying to say anything. I mean, if I can be perfectly honest, I think that this episode is kind of a dud.
Yeah.
It had several ideas in it, and it didn't really do a good job of exploring any of them. On the one hand, we have this totally new concept of, like, a civilization where their entire species is interfaced with a computer. They have changed so much that they are, like, beyond our understanding of what a species is to an extent, and they kind of tried to humanize them with the, oh, well, we thought that you might say no. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's so beautifully naive. But I don't know, maybe they were trying to say something about how we shouldn't rely on computers too much. I mean, TNG has a way of being not anti-technology, but definitely like, we should be cautious about all this new technology that's coming from all over the place. And
Yeah.
it's something that they tie back to quite often in their plots. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, it was an 80s thing, being like, oh, afraid of AI or afraid of how fast technology was moving.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, because I got the impression that, like, it was, like, maybe, like, a failed attempt at being like, oh, we shouldn't, like, let computers rule our lives, but they didn't really dig into it that much.
No, not at all.
And then at the end, it seems like they were making a statement about, like, black and white thinking, because, like, their whole stupid reason for why they didn't ask for help, because obviously the writers couldn't think up a good reason, was like, Picard goes like, to them, like, their thinking is ones and zeros, like, only yes and no, so they couldn't
Yeah.
take the possibility of a no.
Which is silly.
The whole like technology thing seems a little bit like counterproductive in a way because this whole show is the whole thing is technology.
Yeah.
It takes place on a fucking spaceship. And they're like lecturing on technology?
I mean, science fiction is often used in order to make statements about the world around us today. So, going into science fiction and then using that to show how far technology has gone in order to show how that can be a danger is actually a very common theme in science fiction. I
Yeah.
mean, you look at something like Blade Runner, or rather the book that it's based on, and the entire theme is like, what happens when we make a machine in a human's image so real that it has its own personality, and things like that. It's a theme of questioning how far we're going to go with something, and using technology in order to criticize it is I would say, kind of poignant to an extent.
I've never seen Blade Runner 2, so
I think if they'd had like actually made this episode about that, it would be even more poignant today, because that was like before like internet, you know.
Yes.
At least
Yes,
in
very
the form
true.
that it exists today, like as a common thing that like almost everyone has access to. And then yeah, the whole thing with Minuet is weird. It seems like pointless to me.
It is. It is.
Like if you just made the episode about helping the Bynars, and just like that should have just been the main conflict of the episode. Like, not them keeping it secret and trying to steal shit or whatever, but them being like, the Enterprise goes to Bynus to help them with this problem, to be like, hey, we need someone to help them so that they can, like, you know, save their society from the electromagnetic pulse from the supernova, which is gonna knock out all their computers and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, you have like, oh no, shit goes wrong, and like we're not gonna make it in time, and that kind of thing. I think that would have been really interesting.
Yeah, definitely could have been.
And then you make the whole like falling in love with a hologram thing a different episode.
yeah. Although she did get to be the exposition machine.
Yes.
Also, yeah, she turns out to be like part of the coup in a way.
Yeah. Fun fact about Minuet: the actress also plays the psychiatrist on Law and Order.
Oh.
At least in the early seasons of Law and Order.
I've never seen Law and Order.
Oh yeah. I used to watch like a fuck ton of it, so I recognized her immediately. I love Law and Order.
I think I've seen the first episode of SVU, but other than that, nothing.
SVU is a very different kind of series than Law and Order was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
SVU is much more stupid, I would say.
Well, yeah. I mean, I really like SVU. Like, it's very trashy, but I really like it.
That's fine.
Because like SVU centers specifically around sex crimes unit, and Law and Order is murder.
Oh.
Yeah.
I really think I might like Law and Order better. I do love. I said I love murder. No,
yeah.
I don't. I like true crime.
Yeah, but SVU is a lot easier to not take seriously at all. Okay, SVU did a Gamergate episode. Just let that sink in.
That's modern SVU.
No.
Like early SVU
yes.
is much less stupid.
Okay, fair. Anyway, so the what I was going to say a minute ago, I think that Minuet suffers from the show don't tell syndrome in this episode, where they spend a lot more time telling you how believable she is than actually showing it.
Yeah.
And that would be a problem with what the writers were doing, so they fucked up.
Yeah, cause like I said before, like, it's very clear what she's doing. It's very clear that she's just saying exactly what Riker wants to hear. After a while, like, after the dance part, it starts becoming obvious that, like, she doesn't want him to leave, and you start getting red flags, like, immediately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although, like, that could have been their intention. That might actually be good. Like, I want to give them some credit that maybe they were like, oh, the audience is going to recognize that, like, something's kind of sus with this situation, but Riker isn't. But the whole episode is just so awkward. It doesn't really play that well.
No, not at all.
You know what the last bit reminds me of? It's like Die Hard, but Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because they need to take control of their ship back from somebody else. But they're unconscious on the ground, so a little different, but...
It also takes a total of, 5 seconds for that entire scene, too.
Also, it's pretty fucking stupid that you can't change the timer on the self-destruct.
Oh, yes, I wanted to point that out, actually.
Because they're like, sorry, Jeff, I just want to get this out. Because they're like, yeah, we have no choice in how long it takes. It's a 5-minute countdown. You should definitely have the option for how long the self-destruct is going to take.
Yeah,
I would hope so, anyway.
If you can make a, holodeck situation, that intense, I think you can make the countdown a little more customizable.
Yeah.
It's like priorities, gang. Priorities. Like, what are the Bynars doing there other than to make these like fantasies better?
Yeah.
Chilling. So this episode is actually the introduction of a couple of tropes. One of them being Riker's a pervert, which I'm very glad that one's beginning. It's the beginning of the Parisi Squares mentions, because it's the first time that it's been brought up. And it is the first time that we have a self-destruct countdown episode. Ooh! So that is a trope that comes up several times throughout multiple iterations of Star Trek going forward. And there's always a different way of setting up the self-destruct. I think the first time that they did it was like even back in the original series, but then they did it again in the films and it was different, and now they're doing it in TNG and once again it's different, and every time you see it come up there's a completely different procedure for actually confirming the self-destruct sequence.
Yeah. I think they're relatively consistent about it needing to be a joint decision between the captain and the first officer.
Relatively to an extent, but
Yeah.
the captain has done it on their own. Sometimes it requires more than 2 people, sometimes it requires 3.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it only requires one person to turn it off, because they always have to turn it off at the end, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, except for that time that the ship blows up.
Spoilers.
And that's when the series becomes Star Trek the next generation, and we lose the Enterprise and we get the Enterprise E, and yeah, I'm just making shit up now.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I was like almost believing you for a second. Not it being called the next generation. That'd be stupid on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
But although now I kind of want that t-shirt. Star Trek the next generation.
Oh yeah,
I'd wear
and
that.
I wanted to get back to your point. Is like, why the fuck is Wesley in charge of the bridge?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, Riker leaves him in charge, and then Picard comes in and is like, yeah, this is legit too. And I'm like, this is a child.
Yeah, you don't have a fucking proper ensign there, or like lieutenant or something.
Wesley gives me, in these scenes particular, gives me like hall monitor vibes. Like, he's been given a weird amount of like power, and like he knows it. We're just fortunate that like Wesley didn't abuse it in this situation. We know he's capable of abusing his power. We know this.
Yeah.
From the second episode. But yeah, he just was like looking over them and just took everything, like just asking a couple questions, but just not I don't know. It sort of had like, oh, well, you know what? Wesley's in charge, so I'll take these people at their word, so I know what's going on.
I would argue that at a point when everybody is off the ship and the ship is docked, there isn't a lot Wesley can really do there on his own. So, like, it's sort of like, leaving the kid to play in the control center when everything's turned off anyway.
I guess, but the ship is still, like, running. There's still, like... Because obviously, there's still a lot of people left on the ship. Not everyone, like...
Yeah,
left.
when Riker leaves Wesley in charge, that's when Data and Geordi are painting.
Oh,
So-
yeah. Okay, good
They're
point.
still, it's the same time. So, like, this child will be in charge while Data paints.
Yeah, and the thing is like, it's perfectly acceptable that, like, those two have time off or whatever. They're, like, more senior
course.
officers.
Of
But,
course.
like, there's gotta be someone who's in between, like, the second officer and Wesley that could be in charge of the bridge.
Like, just even an adult. Just any adult.
Yeah.
could do it.
And then, like, and then when the whole, like, containment field collapse is happening, there's no one on duty in engineering.
Everything's just empty.
Why on earth would you ever leave engineering empty?
Who designed this ship?
Yeah.
And who set the duty roster? Oh, wait, I know who set the duty roster. It was Riker, because he's the second in command.
Yeah.
And Riker was busy trying to get his rocks off.
Yeah.
Sorry, trying to get his
Rikes off?
bone.
Yeah.
He was trying to clean his bone.
Like, yeah, engineering, especially with something like you know that's a possibility. Like, you have to... Like, the only reason they knew anything was wrong was, like, Wesley was like, hey, like, something looks, like, weird with engineering. Can you check it out?
That's true.
And it's like, someone should be there monitoring this shit all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, like...
They treated this like, hey, we're doctors, so nobody has to do anything.
Yeah, because the whole theory on, like, matter, antimatter is that, like, when they interact, they destroy each other. Mm-hmm. So, like, keeping antimatter separate from the rest of the universe is, like, really important.
Yeah, I've read, I think it's Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. I think that's in there. I've read that book. I've seen that movie. I'm aware.
Also, just for those listening, I did not mean the universe in general. Like, a bit of antimatter is not going to destroy the whole universe. I just meant, like, the immediate area.
Hey, Star Trek's still running. Give it time. They could still do a plot like that.
Yeah.
So
but, like, yeah,
another...
you have that you have something that volatile and that critical, like, engineering should never, ever be empty.
What is that being used for on the ship anyways? What does it do?
Oh, they use the antimatter, as a component of the engine. They actually, this is my understanding of it. Like, someone can probably explain this better than me, but this is what I imagine is happening, is they actually use the reaction between matter and antimatter to create energy.
Yes, that is exactly what they do. It is a reactor to an extent.
Yeah.
They never really go into much detail besides a bunch of tech talk.
Yeah, except that dilithium crystals are somehow involved.
Yeah, well, I assume that dilithium crystals, much like any other kind of fuel in, like, say, a fission reactor, are one part of the matter antimatter reaction.
Yeah, I think on the show they've described it as being responsible for what regulates the matter antimatter reaction.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would possibly work.
Well, I mean, the same way that oh, geez. Sorry, I cannot remember the names of any of the components used in, like, a fission reactor right now. But in, like, some types of fission reactors, you use a separate element that will slow down the reaction.
Oh, so it doesn't get too volatile?
Yeah, so essentially
okay.
So that it's easier to control.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, and like I said, for the life of me, I cannot remember the names of any of the elements right now.
Like diluting an acid or something.
Kind of. It's very hard to explain because fission is complicated.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, not a direct comparison, but, like, in chemistry, it's like you dilute an acid to control the reaction.
Oh, yeah, okay. That would be a good example then. Okay, yeah. Cool. By the way, guys, we are not scientists.
No,
I don't know if you could tell.
Yeah, we know, like, we're huge nerds and we kind of know things, and that's it.
I don't. I don't know. I don't know things. I don't know science.
I watch very dry chemistry videos that I understand, like, 50% of.
Oh, wow, that's more than I understand, but good for you. Okay, so, Dory, did you have any favorite moments of the episode? Because I sure didn't.
I mean, the trombone, the bone.
Yes, the bone.
Playing the bone. That was pretty fantastic. I do have a few favorite lines. First is Worf says this, they're getting ready to go play that dangerous game. I don't remember how to pronounce it already.
Parrises Squares.
Yes. And so then Riker basically is like, have fun, blah, blah, blah. And then Worf goes, if winning is not important, then Commander, why keep score? I was like, so deep, Worf. So deep.
I legitimately love that moment.
Yeah.
That was great. And then next one is when Geordi is teaching Data to paint.
Yeah.
Geordi says to Riker, well, what do you think? And then Riker goes, tell me what it's supposed to be, and then I'll give you my opinion. And then Data goes, it is an attempt at pure creativity. Like, what? What?
Yeah.
What the fuck does that mean? Pure creativity. That what? That makes no sense to me. Oh, I do love what's a knockout? Riker says to Minuet, "What's a knockout like you doing in a computer-generated gin joint like this?"
That's the line. I got it wrong
Yeah.
earlier. Oh my god.
And then we sort of mentioned it earlier, but it's the Picard goes, "But you know, number one, some relationships just can't work." And then Riker responds with, "Yes, probably true. She'll be difficult to forget." I'm like, she's a computer. Oh yeah, very quick side note of that. When they fix everything, and then Riker goes back into the holodeck, and he sees the woman again, and he goes up to her. I thought it was a mannequin. I swear to God, I thought it was a mannequin until she turns her head and it's like another lady with the cheapest wig I've ever seen. I full out thought she was a mannequin, but yeah, just like a couple. I don't have like a ton of favorite lines, but I will never get the image out of my head of him playing trombone.
Yeah. I don't know if I have any like favorite moments. Maybe like Riker being real weird describing his fantasy. It's very awkward and very funny to me.
That's fair.
There's a couple points that I wanted to bring up that we didn't get to touch on, which is like there's quite a bit of padding in this episode.
Yeah,
Like,
there is.
At the beginning, like they take their sweet time docking the ship. Like really. And then there's a couple other moments where they take their sweet time doing stuff where they really could have upped the pace. Oh yeah, and my favorite bit is Star Trek giving us an intro to they them pronouns.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Although it's not a singular they because they're always in pairs. So, one step at a time, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, okay, just on that note, I just remembered something. When Riker's being all weird and describing his holodeck program, he keeps referring to them as gentlemen.
Yeah.
I noticed that.
Even though they explicitly said earlier in the episode, they aren't gentlemen or ladies.
Like, Jesus, Riker, respect pronouns.
Yeah.
He can't.
I know.
He doesn't understand them.
He was too horny.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
And I don't think this episode was, of all the things they were trying to say, I don't think they were trying to say anything about gender. Not in this episode.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that.
It's just like a nice coincidence, I guess.
I think for me, like there isn't a lot of dialogue that I even like in this episode because of the god-awful delivery on so much of it. I did find it really amusing, even though it was stupid as hell, when at the beginning of the episode when Riker notices the Bynars on the bridge and he's asking them what they're doing, and they sort of like nervously turn to him and are like the most obvious, we're not doing anything wrong, nothing at all. In the whole universe, and you're just like, okay, so they're going to be the quote-unquote villains this episode. They've already set that up just by making this bleedingly obvious. Okay, great. But if I can be honest, the opening shot, opening scenes in general had me almost excited for it, because those special effects are absolutely beautiful at the beginning, where they're introducing the ship flying up to the starbase, and we're getting that flyby shot of it for the first time, and you're just like, this is fantastic, but oh no, it's taking a really long time. You're just doing this because you don't have enough time.
Yeah.
Oh.
Also, okay,
no.
sorry, that just reminded me of another thing. Later on, when they have to evacuate the Enterprise, how is the Enterprise backing up?
That's a good question.
Like, the way it's designed, it doesn't look like it has any way to, like, move backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I just wanted to get on my pulpit for a second and complain about people and their aversion to the use of singular they pronouns. Because, okay, background on me. I went to Catholic school as a child. And when they were teaching us grammar, and they were teaching us about, like, saying, pronouns, like being like you, she, them, him, they totally said, like, I was taught in school, you can use they for a single person when you don't know the gender of the person you're talking about.
That makes sense.
Like, I was taught that in school in, like, the 90s, early 2000s. So I don't understand, like, it's such a bullshit excuse to be like, oh, but you can't use they for single people. Well,
Right.
no, that's bullshit. We've been using singular they for fucking ever. And also, language changes. So, fuck
Yeah.
you.
Sorry, language changes? Are you sure about that?
Eh,
I'm very conservative about language.
yeah. I don't know, man. Language can get pretty lit, so...
All right.
I don't know if it changes. That's very sus.
Thank you. Is it sus or sus?
It's sus.
Sus. Like suspicious.
Oh, I keep pronouncing it sus, and I don't know why.
Oh, yeah. Because it's short for suspicious.
Yeah.
Right,
Not
yeah.
Dr.
I haven't-
Seuss.
Yeah.
I haven't actually played Among Us yet, and I know that's where it comes from, so.
It probably comes from a black person, probably.
Oh, shit. That's a good point.
It's probably AAV.
Yep,
Oh,
because
maybe.
we always steal things like that.
White people.
Let's get into predictions.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I'm
Dory,
ready.
our next episode, episode 16, is called Too Short a Season,
Ugh.
and it's about a Starfleet admiral, an elderly Starfleet admiral, confronting his youth.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay. All right. I'm going for it. Okay. He's confronting his youth. I have two sort of ways that you could do this. Number one. Okay. They go through like, okay. Come on. Oh my God. My brain is going too fast. It's stressing me out. Okay. With this idea. Okay. So, this admiral goes on the ship and is supposed to be like transporting somewhere with the gang, but then suddenly they go through some kind of time portal and he meets with his younger self or something, and so he literally meets his younger self.
Oh.
Or he's older and tries to do something that he thinks he can do, but he's too old and he gets hurt.
And he breaks his hip.
Basically.
Help, I've
just,
fallen and I can't get up.
So yeah, those are my two theories. They both suck. I feel like the second one is probably more likely. Actually, you know what? It's Star Trek. Nothing's more likely.
That's true.
Yeah, those are my very bad predictions.
All right,
But-
so we'll see if you're right next time. And why don't you guys watch along and join us on this journey?
Yeah, it's on Canadian Netflix.
It's on Canadian Netflix, probably like maybe American one too, but
No, in
Oh,
the
yeah,
US
I
it's
have no
on
idea.
CBS All Access.
oh, fair.
Yeah. So everybody give CBS money. No,
No, don't give
I'm
CBS
not
money.
gonna shill. I'm not gonna shill.
All right, so we'll see if Dory's right next time on Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.